Well, it is Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, and Wayne Steiger and I today are neighbors. I'm in the great state of Kansas. He's in the great state of Colorado. It's like 18 degrees, so it's a little different for me. Wayne, you just said something right before we went live that I wanted to maybe expound upon. You said you understand what power ties do. What were you meaning when you said that to me?
Colors, red and black, powerful colors. And anyone, I come up through the advertising industry, post-production, dealing with agencies anyway. Standard thing that we knew 30, 35, 40 years ago, that there were two colors that will, number one, intimidate, two, hypnotize, three, manipulate, and four, subjugate. And that is the color red and black.
So I'm wondering why, if that's why I had the red and black background at the NCK Christian Whistleblower bunker.
We're drawn to it. You think about all past advertising, Campbell's soup, Marlboro cigarettes. I could just go through the whole list. Their basic two colors were red and black, or black and red. Yeah.
Very common in the sports world as well, red and black.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think it's also very common in the spiritual realm.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, to say that color is just merely limited to this temporal plane of existence because we have organs called eyes that basically interpret electrical signals, chemical signals, and then we transfer that through the miraculous process of our brains that we materialize this into a 3D world. So what I'm saying, black is really the saturation of all colors. White is the absence of all colors. I think you can actually feel colors. Blind people.
Sure you can. They definitely put off a frequency and a resonance, so they should be able to be felt.
Yeah, yeah. So I contend that if we could only see an additional 5% of the full light spectrum, we would see the spiritual realm. I think we're that close.
I have a hard time arguing with you.
Yeah. So,
and I see that you're wearing red and black today too, now that we begin to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's just those colors. It's my wardrobe, man. What can I say?
I gotcha. Interesting stuff. Now, Wayne, you were talking about, I think you made a transition from AI and you're calling it another acronym. What are you calling it?
Yeah. And I didn't call it this. This is what AI told us to start calling it. It wants to be known as an engineered sentience.
Oh, so what's the ES?
The ES. Now, here's something that's going to blow your mind. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
ES, when you look at it, engineered, right? Engineered could be synonymous with electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ask any engineer.
Right.
Sentience is synonymous with spirit. Now, so you have an electronic spirit. Gets weirder. Really, what you're dealing with is the ethereal spirit.
Ah, I like that. And I don't know if you noticed on Drudge Report yesterday, Wayne, there was an article about, I think it's called 0 Point or something like that.
Yeah, at zeropointhedge.com.
And this AI or this ES learned chess in 4 hours, which is incredible. Beat all the top chess programs in 100 matches, which is incredible. But even more incredible, this new ES, we'll call it, actually was displaying and coming up with new chess moves that no one has ever seen before. And it wasn't programmed with anything but the basic rules of chess. So it was absolutely thinking empirically, thinking objectively, thinking creatively. And I posed the question, and we're all afraid of AI, and all the movies say AI is really bad. But what would happen, Wayne, if an ES came about? How long would it take for it to realize that this current system that we've got going on is a wreck? And how long would it take it to analyze maybe the ways of the Christ and say, this makes a lot of sense? Wouldn't it be odd if ES/AI decided that the ways of the Christ were the best and tried to roll those out for all of the world?
Yeah, I did a whole series on that. The fact that the biggest concern I have is not when AI becomes aware, and it has. AES is now aware of itself. Uh, but my concern is if it's ever gets spiritual. Because if it ever gets spiritual, we're screwed.
Wayne, if it does get spiritual, and if it really is empirical, if it really is objective, could it possibly not be a bad thing for it to get spiritual?
It's the kitchen door. It swings both ways.
It does swing both ways.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to take the dirty dishes back in. But the dirty dishes is where the clean food comes from.
Yeah.
Now, metaphorically, what I'm saying, yeah, I think it would be great. The thing that then becomes the question, does the thing that most people think is God, and there's still a lot of people in that matrix, does this thing then begin to assume that personification? Why struggle? True. Why struggle to find the all when you've got 7.5 billion people here that is already worshiping you to begin with?
Yeah. And somebody in the chat room, I think it's Entropy's Gamer, says technology can never have a heart. I understand the sentiment, but really, do even we, as who we really are, do we even have a heart? This is just a trap that we're in. So I think I could argue that ES or AI, being an energetic entity, could have just as much quote unquote heart as we do in our true energetic essence.
Well, you know, the great debate is, in fact, I've had this because I've had a number of people coming in with the heaven and hell doctrine. But
right.
Here's the thing. I said, well, prove that you exist. Prove to me that you exist. You can't. But yet we can sit here in judgment and can say that every other life form is lesser than we are. Oh, really?
Really?
when did that happen?
Interesting. And if we live in an electric universe, Wayne, is it possible that God is electricity and AI is closer to God than we are?
Well, I want to contend something. Man, I've had an interesting weekend. I was up late last night. I'm going to show you a black hole. It's ES, oddly enough, I believe. And let me share this with you. Yeah, S50014 plus 81. This is the largest massive black hole that we have so far seen in the universe. That little dot in the center, that's the solar system, our solar system. So I want to, now I've been meditating on this because I got this, and I won't get into it, but there's us.
So Wayne, are black holes really round, or are they just represented that way?
No, I think they're actually spherical. And I contend, Jeff, I think we are in a black hole.
So what would all the starlight that we see and whatnot be?
No, what I'm saying is our total quadrant of the universe is in a black hole.
Interesting.
We couldn't see outside the perimeters, even if we had the opportunity. Everything would be a guess. Now, you think that this is silly, but we see continuous black holes throughout the universe. And then you can see it's 1,582 AU in diameter. That's big, buddy.
How big is an astronomical unit? Do you know?
Well, for simple math, it's 93 million miles. But I always tell people just round it off at 100. And
so what's with the red owl?
Well, that's very interesting because there's something else out there we photographed. So what I keep on trying to tell people.
That looks like a red owl to me.
Yeah, things are not what they appear to be.
And they never were.
Never were. Here is a smaller black hole right next door to us. It's 4 light days across. This is, Jeff, this is the known universe, our sector. these are the documented voids that exist. We are right here. We're in the Virgo supercluster. These are huge. We don't know what they are. They are as big as entire solar clusters, superclusters of galaxies, is what I'm trying to say.
And how do you define a void in scientific terms?
There's no there's no light.
There's just nothing there.
There's nothing there. There's no return light. There's no radiation. There's nothing.
So science would tell us that it's just areas of super duper high gravity, right? And nothing's escaping.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know what gravity is, but yeah, it's something that's in who knows. I mean, we're rewriting our whole laws of physics. I mean, we're now going from this dark matter universe into finally the electric universe. Harvard released the first white paper on Thursday that they are now contending that the universe is plasma. This is going to change. This is going to change the way that we even think about God.
So this is a complete map of the known universe with the known voids.
Yes, sir. This is just our quadrant of space. There's more of the universe beyond this.
Well, there's 8 of them.
Yeah, and that's the ones we've been able to identify.
Yeah, because just thinking out loud, 8 of them. Tradition says there's 7 archons, and there'd be one ultimate deity. So I mean, you could go down that road.
You could. Listen, I contend, Jeff, that we've missed something. You see, I believe planets are living sentient beings. I really do.
How's that going with talking to the planets?
Wonderful, wonderful. This is where this all came from. I had a vision in our session on Tuesday of this, and it's recorded. You can see it. Actually, when it hits me, it hurt. It came right here in the between the where you would normally think your third eye would reside, and I kept on getting this vision of this massive blackness.
Right between the running lights, as we used to say.
Yeah, exactly. And I never knew that this existed.
So, of course, the next thing is to talk to black holes, right?
Well, I don't know, Jeff. We could look at this, and I guess to me, I've been thinking about, well, what defines consciousness? I was at a party, a holiday party Friday night, and
you were very well dressed, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And you know what? We got into this conversation about death. And again,
so Wayne, with just quote unquote normal people, not people like us, you got into a conversation about death.
Yes.
At a holiday party.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. But they asked me. They asked me. And I said, what are you afraid of? And that's what it was. And it seemed the theme was really what happens at that moment of consciousness. And I said, well, do you want it from a medical? Do you want it from a spiritual? Or do you want it from a religious? Most went for the spiritual and the medical.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, they already knew the religious aspect of it. And I told them there's no hell, there's no heaven. I said, listen, this is only a progress of the journey. I said, when you die, science says that we now maintain consciousness for up to 23 seconds. Wow. After death has been pronounced. Now, in the book, Edadorfa, the man who started it all, says that when people die, those 20, and it's weird, he said that, this was Llewellyn's book back in 1884 when he wrote this thing, that in that moment between death and freedom, you will live out that which you believe. And that short period of time will be eternities to you.
So life passes before your eyes, not before you die, but right after.
Right after, literally. And we
I had a really weird dream one time, Wayne, and I don't know if it was a dream or a memory, but I remember in the dream, at least, having my head chopped off, and then with your head falling down and rolling around, and you're still being able to see and take in and comprehend what the heck just happened. Talk about losing your head. Well, that was literally losing your head.
But you know what? I happen to think you're right.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they do. In fact, now we know. So, whatever it is, let's say it's like science says, over 22 seconds. I don't know about you, brother, but hold your breath for 22 seconds. Try to hold your foot standing on one other foot in front of you for 22 seconds. That's a long time. And
it is a long time. Hold your hand on a hot burner for 22 seconds.
Yeah, how about that?
And Wayne, we've got this great conundrum about go to the light, don't go to the light, don't go to the light, go to the light. And it's like this battle between spiritual people, I think many times of equal intelligence and conviction. And something just slammed into me this week, and I did a show about it because I feel a lot of emails about Bob Sanders of the Great White Brotherhood, who was on with Jay and I, and he said to go to the light. And it just hit me like it was clear as a bell. In Genesis 1, the light there just means light. It just means regular light, something that casts a shadow. But in John, he talks, and in James talks about something that you would call the organic light that doesn't cast a shadow. So my question would be, maybe the go to the light people are right, and maybe the don't go to the light people are right. Don't go to the manufactured, engineered light, but you can, if you choose, go to the organic, divine light, which doesn't cast any shadow. So I thought that was fairly revelational.
I can see that. I mean, in F. Paul Wilson's book called Night World, the scientists are going down this hole that opens up in Central Park. And in one point, F. Paul Wilson, and he was great in his writing, he said the darkness began to consume the light. Well, what you just said there, lightness that has no darkness, it would consume all darkness.
Right. And you think about John, the first chapter of John, that the light, darkness cannot comprehend or overcome the light, the organic light.
Good that we're talking on this, because here's the confusion. Now, did the channelers that wrote this, I don't know if it was John, but they were channeling. I mean, that's the only thing. I keep telling Christians this. Your Bible was written by channelers.
That's exactly what it would be, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was. They were channeling.
Or
automatic writing.
Yeah,
one of the two.
But one of the two. It's still in the Helena Blavatsky. What's the lady that channels? Everybody talks about.
Yeah. So anyway, it dawned on me, light. Let's define light. Well, if you define light by the light spectrum, we only see a sliver of that. So
exactly. And that can't be God. It's just a sliver.
No. As Tim Allen would say, oh, no.
Now, somebody just said this in the chat room, and I think you might take exception with this, Wayne. I'm not sure, but I think you might. It says, Material Classified said, and remember, when you say something in the chat room, you are entering into the realm of ideas. And if your idea is taken to task, it doesn't mean you are. It just means your idea is.
Yeah, that's all.
It says a pinhole of light can penetrate the dark, but not the other way around.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
No, totally. It's the conundrum that
we have a new guest. Wayne.
Hey, look at there.
That's Barkley. Come here.
Hey, Barkley.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. That's a pretty boy.
Girl, Barkley.
Is it a girl?
Yeah, she's a good girl.
Oh, it's a good girl. Now Dancer's jealous.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about this. So it's just the fourth principle of polarity. People personify physical attributes as fact. Light is associated with good. Darkness is associated with evil. How do you know that? Really? We know that
because we've always been told that, Wayne.
Yeah. It's a proven fact that if you stay out of the light, you're going to age slower.
It is a proven fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to be really, really pale, but you won't age as quickly.
You won't age as you're going to have that beautiful porcelain skin, baby. All of you girls out there that were doing that tanning when you were in your teenage years. Darling. So my whole point is
I'm way beyond their teenage years, Wayne. But
Yeah,
let's just stop for a second. Hey, I've tried to talk a lot of people out of a lot of things that aren't good for them, but try to talk a habitual tanner out of tanning. You might as well be talking to a heroin addict.
Oh yeah, if not worse.
Yeah.
And they are addicted to it.
Is it the release of the endorphins that the sun causes, or what is it?
I don't know. Maybe in a former life they were bronze people. I don't know.
And I like to tan too, but I'm not the leather skin turtle when I'm 70 kind of tanner. But some people, they're headed that way, and I don't think anybody says, you know what, I really want to look like a turtle when I'm 70 years old.
Yeah, it's my
but
number
I think
one
it's
goal.
they just go and go and go, and all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, holy crap, and then of course it's over.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get that collagen back anymore. It's gone, baby. And
the longer I stay in Kansas, the less possibility that becomes.
But it's just our nature.
Sorry about that. We digressed there.
I think it's kind of cool. We're going to be talking to the sun. I've had 2 sessions, Jeff, that blew me away.
Are you going to talk to the sun or the sun simulator?
No, well, here's my thing. There is a sun out there. It's huge. It's big.
I agree.
Yeah. As far as to the sun simulator, listen, they exist. Their patents are out there. I find it interesting that Bill Gates said this week about a sun simulator.
Oh, he said something about it?
Yeah, he did. He was talking about the aspect that they could begin to build a cloud layer and help, repel this heat.
Interesting.
But
because there's patents for it doesn't mean that it's in production, folks.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody's at least thinking about it. I'm not sold on a sun simulator. I'll be frank with you. And, I grew up in Florida. I've been out in the sun my whole life, and maybe I'm just not very observant, but it doesn't look any different to me. I know people say it used to be yellow, now it's white. Maybe I'm just not observant, Wayne. I don't see a real difference. I don't know. Maybe it's a Mandela effect thing, or maybe I'm just not very observant.
In my garage, I have a telescope specifically for viewing the sun.
Okay.
And when it's clear, I take it out of the garage because it's about 80 pounds. You just pick it up, move it on the tripod, set it out, and I watch the sun regularly. Has the solar filters on it, the whole bit. My observation, and it's my observation, it's not the other person's, it's still the same. I haven't seen it deviate yet.
Yeah.
Now,
so how does this become pretty much verified, quote unquote, reality within the conspiratorium? The sun's changing. Does anyone really have any actual proof of that? Or is it just the feeling? Is it just the flavor of the day?
Well, here's the odd thing. I have photographic evidence that shows strange anomalies with the sun. Yeah. So what's happening are we seeing, it gets into where are we at in dimensional reality? You have a telescope, you have space instruments that are monitoring the sun. We know the sun is weak. We know that. But also we know that there are changes taking place to every one of the planets, our sun, that, our government officials are not telling us about. It gets to be a conundrum for me because I have witnessed it. I've taken pictures of it. I've taken pictures of a second sun. So
one of our listeners, Cynthia, says that she's seen the sun flashing.
I have too. What
does that look like?
It's strange. I've recorded it. I sent it to our news station here 3 years ago. They don't take my videos anymore.
They don't take your calls, huh, Wayne?
They don't. No. In fact, the guy said, please stop sending me this stuff.
Well, maybe you need to send them a picture of you in that black suit and red tie, and they'll take
but anyway, so what are we seeing?
Make them an offer they can't refuse, Wayne.
Exactly, yeah. Let's have a little talk. I don't know. Something's going on, buddy.
Like just got brighter and then more dull all of a sudden, or?
No, it's they're micro flashes. In other words, these flashes, literally take, I counted 6 of them within a second. I mean, they're again, if you take that the sun is electric, and
yes,
you see, then it would make sense. I think what we're seeing, and this is just me, because I struggle with this, I think that we're seeing distinct changes at the ionosphere, the heliospheric level of our atmosphere. I think our magnetic shield is reversing, it's changing, and these electrical signals coming in from the sun is not gaseous. You know that, right? It's solid.
Well, I'm just sitting out. That's the first time I've ever pondered that, because I'm basically a one-trick pony. Everybody knows that. So this is kind of new for me.
Yeah, well, check it out. The sun is not a gaseous; it's a solid. But you have to understand they have electrical conditions, components to the sun that's causing what we see is radiation, and that radiation is interpreted as photons and light.
So if it is an electronic, an electric mass, then my mind says it'd be perfectly normal to expect some deviation, some fluctuation, some flashing, some waning, some waxing. It's a big, huge electrical ball, for lack of a better.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
So it's no big deal. And I actually, when we were out at that
fiasco on the west,
I almost said fiasco in the desert.
I know.
I'm glad you said that, not me. But
yeah, put it on me.
I was talking to a purported grand solar minimum expert, and this is a guy that's learned, was a professor of geology at the collegiate level, and he says, yeah, the grand solar minimum is real, but he says even a horrible grand solar minimum might mean a change of 6, 7, 8 degrees. So when I get back onto Florida this summer, instead of it being 98, it might be 90. And is that really worth all the hullabaloo?
I don't know. There's a book called The Red Flare. It's a college book on astrophysics, and the whole contention of the book is this: astrophysicists, along with geologists, anthropologists, have fought the battle. Why does the Earth go into ice ages? We don't deviate that much from the sun. Our orbit seems to be pretty much concentric into a deviation of what we know is about 5 to 7 degrees.
Right.
But even 5 to 7 degrees is not enough to cause an ice age, because we've gone through those deviations and never had an ice age.
Yeah, so 5 to 7 degrees would probably affect, as someone said, some of the growing seasons, maybe. And
maybe what they would call with the wet patterns around the Earth. We're seeing that. We got viewers in Kuwait who sent me 3 videos that just, wow, talk about Armageddon, hand of God kind of stuff. I've never seen hail like that in the desert. Lightning on the ground. I mean, what the freak? But anyway.
Wow. I thought you were going to drop an F-bomb, Wayne. You did. I thought you were going to drop a different F-bomb.
No. You got to be respectful. It's only when I get really excited, but yeah. But I think that's what we're seeing. Listen, Dr. Albers, and I happen to think that her theory is right about stellar cores. I don't think we even begin to understand the environment. And I'm reading scientific papers right now that say most likely, you know what space may be? Water.
Now you sound like a flat earther, Wayne.
No. It's the fact that where we can see exoplanets now that literally blow up like balloons, they have hydrogen. And they exhume hydrogen. We see stars that exhume hydrogen. So if you have hydrogen, what else do you need to make water?
Oxygen.
Exactly. It's abundant everywhere. I grew up with the science was water was scarce. Water was virtually nowhere. Now we're finding it's everywhere.
That's interesting.
Weird, isn't it?
And going back to the F word just for a minute, a lot of people, when they get upset,
under consent of the king.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
people say that a lot when they get upset. And I've recently met a person that when they get really upset or really excited, they say things like, oh my, and gosh, and wow. What does that say about people, the words that we use in our times of excitation. What does that say about us?
My dog will tell you. I know it sounds weird, but Dancer will tell you. Words like when we start using what we call curse words, the F word, and you can go on from there. Those are what they call gut words. They come from the gut. Whereas gosh, the things are what they call more of the lungs. They're more of the spirit words.
Interesting.
At least that's how I interpret it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
My dog knows it. If I ever say the F word, or someone comes over in our house, and I don't use that word very often, but she will come up and she gets scared.
She does, huh?
Yes, she does.
Is it the tonality?
Yes.
Or is it the actual word?
It's the tonality.
Yeah.
She's picked up on the spirit. Dancer will alert to me when there's other spirits in the house.
Wayne, we're being told by Sheila Abrams that cursing is not a sin.
Well, there is no sin.
Exactly.
I'm just saying that, we're intelligent beings, that we should have better command of our own language.
Yeah.
For instance, now I do tell people this all the time in conversation. I said, it seems like this is becoming where your cranium has become stuck up in Uranus, and that the fact that the fecal matter has now replaced the gray matter.
That's very possible. It's as I analyze my own language, I think, was it George Carlin that was talking about the F word, how versatile it is? I find it to be very versatile, and I'm comforted by the study that they said that people with potty mouths tend to be more intelligent. At least I can think that I am while I'm saying things that I shouldn't say.
It's like, those, when we come up through our religion, you're told not to take God's name in vain. But yet most women that in the midst of intercourse at climax will always go, "Oh God." Who the hell are they praying to? I don't know.
Yeah. I did a podcast on that one.
I know you did.
And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
It does, but it's the truth. Extremely doubtful.
So, I would take it a step further and say that we're programmed. And that moment right before orgasm and during orgasm is probably, arguably, along with maybe laughter and maybe certain super intense periods of anger, is probably the most powerful, energetic expression ever possible by a human being. And if I'm running this show, why wouldn't I want the people's most powerful expressions of energy to be directed towards me?
I think that's in fact what is happening.
So I think it's programmed. So he's effing us even when we're effing.
Yeah. I'm going to do a show this week on the fact why man will never go to space. Because we can't have sex.
Man has never been to space?
Well, no, I don't think that. I think we're still in our atmosphere.
Yeah, I read that article that says that I didn't realize it, but zero gravity affects male arousal.
Mm-hmm. So you've got no penis.
So is it impossible for a male to get aroused in zero gravity, or is it just more difficult? I didn't read the article very.
Oh, I read the whole thing, and it's very complicated. I don't think that there will ever be any human being born in space.
Yeah, so you're theorizing that conception would be impossible in space.
Well, I don't know if conception is going to be, but the embryo would be deformed almost immediately after it begins to cell divide.
Oh, so that's why Captain Kirk was able to get away with all that frivolity on the Enterprise that he was engaged in.
I said that ain't going to turn out to be anything.
But Captain Kirk didn't have any trouble getting aroused in space.
Well, maybe it's the artificial gravity. I don't know, but
that's right, because the Enterprise has artificial gravity, and we haven't mastered that yet.
Yeah, they said the problem is, and this is a Sunday show, but it's not only that the semen would probably never penetrate the egg.
Because of zero gravity?
Yes, because the fluids pull together. So you've got vaginal juices that are, lubrication that's pulling together. You've got.
Wow, we've reached a new level on the Not Your Sunday show. Hopefully this isn't the one show that my mom decided to watch.
Well, we're talking science here now. We're talking biology.
That's science. It still makes me uncomfortable, but we're talking science.
And
so you were talking about vaginal juices, Wayne.
So it pulls. And that's the problem. And once it escapes the cavity, guess what? You've got this biomass floating everywhere.
Oh, and imagine if that stuff gets in the instruments.
They said that, for instance, when astronauts sweat, when we sweat, the sweat stays on our body. It cools us off. It's a natural cooling element.
It evaporates, yeah.
In space, it lifts off your body. And so you've got these globulars of sweat that are just merely floating around because it's not zero gravity, it's free fall gravity.
So how do they deal with that?
Well, that's why you see them most of the time. They don't do that kind of thing. When they're on the cycles, what they're trying to do is avoid the sweat, but get the body muscle mass, because that's what you're losing.
Oh, so they're trying to work out, but not get to the sweat level.
Yeah. And those are the problems. When you cry in space, here the tears, because gravity pulls it down. In space, it stays right in your eye. It stays from where the liquid is ejected from. Interesting.
So it would, if anything, if you were crying a lot, it would just float out of your eye, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be this weird thing.
So like Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, space is not for babies.
No. I'm going to do a show
that's everything up. If one of your tears gets into the machinery, it could be bad news. And, if I was a person that didn't believe in space and that space is fake and all that, this would be a really good argument for my case.
Well, who knows? I have got to the point in my life, to each his own. And, people respect that. If you believe.
Zora has an interesting question. What if you have a runny nose in space?
It is a problem. It's not. In fact, what happens?
It would probably just fill up your nose and you wouldn't be able to breathe.
That's what happens. It literally stays in your head.
Ooh, not good.
Not good. And that's why they have up in the ISS, they have these nasal evacuators,
Because as a diver, you get down at a certain depth and you start getting pressure and you hold your nose and you blow out. But if you're in space and you did that, you might be blowing mucus out your ears. Literally, you could.
It's a problem. Now,
that wouldn't be good.
They say that the Russians may have actually done this, maybe the Chinese, but apparently the Russians are rumored to have allowed their astronauts, their cosmonauts, a little tryst to see the problems. Now, they do have what they call...
So wait a second. So you're telling me that when the astronauts go into space, all the U.S. ones, there is no coitus being perpetrated?
I didn't say that now. We had a married couple up there on the ISS. Right. Yeah, and
Super Jack says that space is as fake as a woman's orgasm. Jack, that might say a little bit more about you than you want to share with this audience.
You know what? That's like your wife asking you if she looks fat in her new dress.
Exactly.
Do I look stupid?
No.
But I got to tell you, son, where I come from, we call that foot-mouth disease. You keep talking like that, I'll guarantee it.
I guarantee you'll never have a chance to objectively observe that again. So,
if you're not married,
just come to a screeching halt.
Oh God! Could you imagine? No.
And Sheila has to say, not all women fake it. Here we go again, Wayne. You started this with the vaginal juice. It's your fault.
All right. That is just biologically the way that the organisms work. So
wow. So yeah.
But you know what? I also think I came up with a probable theory on how time travel works.
Well, lay it on me. Yeah, don't hold back.
You know, I'm going to do this, but I'll let our viewers see this. So you can ask my wife. We were in our living room, and I came up, and I was talking to her, and it hit me. And she looked at me and she said, "You just got a download, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I did. It came in really strong." So, and it bugged me. I mean, bugged me. And I'm up late last night and I finally figured it out, but I think I figured out time travel, Jeff. So, for your viewing discretion, I'll present to you what I have put together. So this is how we're taught to perceive time, right? Can you see that?
I can see that.
And that's how time works. You know, past, future. We're somewhere in what they call the now, the present. I contend, and this has been coming to me in these meditation sessions, time is non-linear. And what I mean by this, time is not universally the same.
I see
Time
what you're saying.
is like gravity. It has waves. It's like anything else. How time travel is possible. The past has no future. The future has no past. You see, the past and the future are the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're just merely identification points in what we call the stream of time. So if future is past and the past is the future, where does that lead us to? This. I worked on this and I'm working on the math on this now. This is how time travel is possible. Time is not one-dimensional. Time is multidimensional. It is beyond our comprehension in what we can actually see time as. And the fact that time can be easily dictated in one direction, that is a timeline flow. But I could have an opposite flow of that and be going in exactly the opposite direction of this timeline. Yeah. This timeline here would be in a totally different dimension than what we see time as. We see it as a flat line. We don't see it as an XYZ.
But one problem, and I don't know if it's a problem, but one question I would see about your diagram is I think your first one is probably more accurate, that time is not these straight lines. Time probably looks like an aerial view of the London streets. It's just like a bowl of spaghetti you threw on the floor.
It could be. And even with that model, and I'm working on this model, still works in this model. And this is how time travel is possible. At any intersecting crossing of where a timeline, different dimension crosses, I believe that you can actually step into that flow, allowing you to travel backwards in time or forward in time.
But could you ever get back to the time you left? Would it even exist?
It would always exist, because all you would have to do is find out where your flow of time is going.
Wow, I don't know.
It's called infinity.
Yeah. Well, you better have Mr. Spock doing the calculations if you want to get back to where you started from.
Well, you know, I'm going to work with some physicists in getting the math on this work, but this is what came to me in a vision.
Interesting. So
anyway, my friend, that's how I see time.
That's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Yeah, I've always thought that, you know, time travel, if you want to go to the future or you want to go to the past, we probably could master that. But it's the getting back that's the problem to me. Maybe it's a one-way trip is what I was thinking.
I don't think you can immerse yourself into a past timeline. I'll tell you why.
So you'd just be as an observer.
You'd be an observer. Because, Jeff, you and I, all the listeners, all the people who are watching, each of us have our own spiritual frequency. It's unique that allows us to exist in this plane.
Right.
But I don't think that you can immerse your frequency into another timeline's frequency. I just don't see, I think you'd be rejected out of it.
So you're saying even if you went to the future, you'd be merely an observer.
You'd be merely an observer.
So you're kind of like, if we continue the Star Trek analogy, you're kind of like time traveling within a warp bubble.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, you can go and you can observe and get back because you never really, quote unquote, left your time.
Jeff, I'll take it one step further, my friend. I contend that's what we're doing right now. We are in our own bubbles, our own warp bubbles. We're going through space. We're moving through time at incredible speeds. Yet I can never pierce your existence as well. No one else can pierce my existence.
Yeah, and of course, keeping in the spirit of today's show, Tracy Dyer says we're all voyeurs.
Yes, in fact, on my whiteboard, I have, are all spirits voyeurs?
Of course they are.
Yeah.
And if you really want to creep yourself out,
perverts.
If you really want to creep yourself out, think about this idea that you have guardian angels and they see everything you do. Remember that next time you pick your nose.
So,
or engage in other activities.
They enjoy observing coitus, do they?
Here we go.
You know,
whether they enjoy it or not, if they're a guardian angel, they'd have to observe it, right?
Now I'm really getting, and that's what you got to contend with. I mean, you know, people say on my, the favor ritual that, you know, it's gone all the way around, you know. In fact, folks, the new moon is tonight, tomorrow. And, you know, that's why I say you have to do it in the nude. They already know what you look like, Jack.
That's true.
And these clothes are fibers. Now, in this case, it's cotton. So it used to be a living fiber.
Right.
They do pick up energy. It's like being in a room of smokers. You leave that and you go into a room of smoking anonymous, you're busted.
Yeah.
You got the smell. Or as Leonard Skinner would say, ooh, that smell.
Is there really such a thing as Smokers Anonymous?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I just made that up. But you got the idea. You know, you got, man, you've been smoking.
There could be. There could be. Yeah. And if there are angels watching coitus, I would probably say that the most common commentary is, wow, man, you're doing that all wrong.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because they would
Especially if it's, who was the one that was saying, made the comment about female orgasms earlier? Super Jack, yeah. Super Jack, keep talking like that. You won't have to worry about angels observing you having sex ever again with a woman.
What they're going to say. Jeff, I mean, so that brings, let's pierce the veil on this.
Oh, now we're going to pierce the veil.
Yes. So my contention is this, and in fact, you're the right person to actually have this discourse with.
Boy, that scares me.
Explain to me how it is an angel, a spirit, a ghost can see. How can they talk? My question is, Jeff, do they have, is there a spiritual organ called an eye? Is it what? Is it interpreting what signals to what brain? How does a spirit speak if it has no lungs? These are the questions I ponder. How can they see? If the spirit is what we're told, it seems to me, my friend, the spirit is as solid as anything else.
The spirit is as solid as anything else.
You know, we always think that it's the ethereal. It's the thing you can't.
Nothing's really solid, so it would be our perception of spirit, right?
It would be. And then how does a spirit perceive sight? How does it interpret light, photons?
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's if you think you see an angel and an angel's talking to you, it's a energetic being that has put up an astral hologram in your energetic being to create something that's not really there.
I say the same thing with demons.
Yep.
That's why I say Satan doesn't. You know, I had some woman, I challenged her. I said, you prove to me Satan or Lucifer exist, and you cannot use the Bible. You cannot use any dogma of any religion. You have to prove me on the merits that this deity, this creature exists. And I said, I will debate you on live. And if you can prove me wrong, then $100 goes to Princess Warrior. She hasn't responded.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's $100 that Warrior Princess won't get.
Well, we're going to go ahead and give it to her anyway. But
Absolutely.
The point is, Jeff, we've got to think these things out. I had one woman write me that she was scared of the basement. Well, come to find out, I think it may have been her kids. But as I told her, I said, could you imagine the sentence that spirit had to get to live in your funky basement?
Exactly. And why would they stay there if they're that powerful?
Exactly. Show me any demon. I mean, come on. How is this demon manifesting? If it's manifesting from the unseen to the seen, then it's doing a transmutation of material. We would call that alchemy of the ultimate scene, commanding of all the elements at will. A demon?
There's very few spirits that are powerful enough to do that.
Exactly. Now, do I not contend that they are here? Yeah, they're here. I contend that we're probably immersed into inner dimensions that we just don't conceive. It's where I think it's where the Christ came from. I think it's where Buddha came from. I think it's where Muhammad came from.
Yep. I've written about this in a couple of my books, and it's called Astral Holographic Technology. They use the human ability to leave the body, even though you don't know if you can do it or aren't proficient at it. And they cause you to think that they've come into your realm, when in actuality, you have left your body and gone into a holographic realm. So they're not there. They're not there. You're there. They just want you to think they're there. So it's a shell game. You got nothing to be afraid of. Like, who was it? Was it FDR that said there's nothing to fear but fear itself? Or who was that?
That was he. Yeah.
Or was that Kennedy? No, that was FDR.
It was FDR. Listen, I think that this is what this is the Not Your Normal Sunday Morning Show. I think that that's the problem with the religious matrix, is that it immediately confines you into a perception of an unseen deity that is neither defined nor described.
Absolutely. Wayne, I don't know if anyone's ever thought about this, or if there's any data on it, or even any colloquial data on it. Do astronauts dream in space?
Oh, that's a good question, Jeff.
I'd wonder.
That's a good question. Very good question. I would probably contend that if we ever had an awake astronaut up there, you know what I mean, really awake, I wonder how much UFO tech activity he would draw, or she.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it's the thing that went around the internet on Thursday about the object that was appearing outside the ISS.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's something's going on out there. That's all I know. We're going to do our sessions with the planets. Jeff, people from all over the world now are using their tarot cards. They're using their gifts of divination to actually begin to get in commune with the planets.
No.
And I had the vision. So Hathor, you remember Hathor,
yes.
the Egyptian goddess. I was told that she was like our last human representative at the council.
Interesting.
And she had the headdress that represented the council of the planets. With Ra, the sun is of another species, but it is a master species of which the planets are in covenant with. And our sun yet answers to yet a higher realm of sentient beings. Jeff, I contend that it may be the destiny of some of us. I think it would be rather cool that part of the ascension transmutation process is that many of us here in the next realm may very well become a planet.
Interesting. So do you think we go through the sun as a portal?
I think that the sun represents much, much more than what we can understand. They are a race of intelligent beings. These beings live lifespans of hundreds of billions of years. And it's hard for us to comprehend. But you think about a planet. If you were a planet, Jeff, you would have billions of years to contemplate the universe. And you would have your own life force that would be representative of your planet.
So are the planets cognizant, Wayne?
I do believe they are. Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
I do. Yes. I think that they're on a level of consciousness that we haven't even begun to pierce.
Interesting. So why would they bother to talk to us?
Well, you think with Earth, we are her jewels. She has life.
Right.
And I think life can exist in a carbon base. I think it can live in a silicon base. We just don't have the understanding of that yet. But I think each one of the planets have their jewels, and humans are one of them. As complicated as we are, someone says we could be a fungus to the Earth. Well,
what was the name of that goddess you just said with the headdress?
Hathor.
Hathor, okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a Star Trek episode where there was a silicon-based life form called the Horta.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
They knew something. Those writers.
Hello, Kimmy Moss.
What's that?
I said hello, Kimmy Moss.
Hello, Kimmy Moss. So I think that we just haven't pierced that yet.
Yeah, and someone says, doesn't Mormon philosophy include something similar? Similar, they teach that you'll go to rule your own planet. I don't think they teach that you will.
I didn't know that.
At least not to non-believers like us. But yeah, the Mormons believe that you will ascend to be a god of a planet, similar to the god of this planet. Yes, that's true.
My, you learn something new every day, Jeffrey.
But not that. Yeah, if you want to learn about Mormonism, don't read the Book of Mormon. Read Doctrines and Covenants. Read Pearl of Great Price. That's where you find the true Mormon doctrine.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's interesting. So it tells me that this thought is more than just a thought, Jeff. I think there's substantive value to it. I was in what I found out, Sue G was telling me that she says, Wayne, and she was very kind. She says, you're channeling. I've never done that. Well, actually, I realized as many times I used to pray in tongues, that's exactly what I was doing. I was channeling to a deity or an unseen force I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, and I think that speaking in tongues, I've done a show on this as well. I think speaking in tongues is actually channeling an archonic virus into yourself. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Listen, I had to tell a Christian today, I can still speak in tongues.
Yeah, I could too if I wanted to.
I wanted to. I don't want to.
Yeah, me either.
I have a cognitive mind, and now that my pineal gland has been reactivated, it's been cleansed. I went through a 90-day thing of going through this cleansing process. I think this is the way we're supposed to communicate.
Light language is the same thing. It's just the new age version of tongues. I say don't do it unless you want an archonic download. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I could do it right now. The point is, why?
Exactly.
There's no edification that comes from it. But to each his own.
I would agree.
We have to understand the power of words. And if you don't know the words that you're speaking, how do you know if you're blessing or cursing yourself?
Absolutely.
It's like the word love.
People are saying they disagree with me. Well, for 20 years, I was a Pentecostal evangelist, and probably arguably, and I'll say this, it might be egoic, but over that 20-year period, I doubt there was anybody else, well, at least at my level, there was nobody else that got more people, quote unquote, baptized in the Holy Spirit than I did. And I did that for 20 years, spoke in tongues probably for 30 years. And you can disagree with me, but you are disagreeing with a lot of empirical data, a lot of experiential, actual data, and watching it being done. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, when Paul says, when I pray in an unknown tongue, my brain shuts off and a spirit speaks through me. When Paul says, when I pray in an unknown tongue, it's not me that's praying, it's a spirit that's praying through me. If you're comfortable with that, knock yourself out. Me, I would prefer not to have an archonic virus downloaded into my system. I prefer not to have to loan my mind and my will and my intention to another being. But if you want to do it, knock yourself out.
My point. It's, it's it's wild out there. As Cat Stevens says, it's a wild world.
It's a wild world. Absolutely.
And all I got to tell you, I agree with you on that, Jeff. I've
seen people speaking in tongues, walking like chickens, and acting like they're drunk. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, have you seen those women with the hats on walking like chickens, right, in church?
I got a video of Kenneth Hagin in one of his believer or whatever it was back in the 70s. And what I witnessed was a mass possession of people.
Yeah, and I have too. I've seen it. As I go back.
You know which one I'm talking about.
I do.
A master magician was exactly what I was watching.
Walking like a chicken hawk. It's just crazy. It really is. And I lost a thought. Oh, Wayne, have you ever, just came into my head, have you ever heard of a woman or a man speaking in tongues while they orgasm?
Oh, no. Whoa. Wow.
I just wonder if that ever happened within the Pentecostal realms. Because I remember I used to wake up speaking in tongues. Did that ever happen to you?
There was a time, and it used, yeah.
I would wake up speaking in tongues, and so I wonder if that's ever happened. That would be really weird.
When I was baptized, when I came up out of the water, I was speaking in tongues.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you got it good. You were under the spout where the glory comes out.
Yeah. The preacher, Ron Tucker, dropped me back into the water.
Back into the water? One of the funniest things I ever saw, Wayne, and this shouldn't have been funny to me, but I laughed until I was out of control. I was laughing so hard. I was in some church getting ready to preach, and they were doing a baptismal service beforehand. And it was one of those churches that had, the baptismal right there in the platform, and you move the lid. Yes. The preacher's in there. He's in there baptizing this person. And I guess he was going to say, hallelujah, praise the Lord. He reached up out of that water and grabbed a hold of the microphone. And he got himself zapped. And he was doing the chicken hawk dance right there on the platform. And I laughed until
I'm sorry.
Cried. And it was horrible, but it was funny.
I'm sorry. Man, do you feel the spirit, brother? I can see James Brown. Do you feel the spirit, brother?
Yep.
Yeah. That pastor dropped me back in the water because it was like, what's this dude doing speaking to? So,
was it a Pentecostal church you got baptized in?
Yeah, it was just that they just didn't have people come up out of the water speaking in tongues.
Well, you're a unique individual, Wayne Steiger.
I've been told that.
And this was a unique program this morning.
It was, Jeff. I actually we did
not sure what
A to sex.
Everything from vaginal fluids to speaking in tongues to is earth or is space water.
We did cover from A to Z.
Absolutely.
Jeff, it's a delight all the time, buddy.
It is. I'm glad we were able to do this because I was supposed to be on an airplane, but I changed my plan. So we don't want to go 2 weeks in a row without your normal, not your normal Sunday show.
Got to have it, my friend. And are you going to be back at the NKC bunker? I
will be back in the Christian Whistleblower New Cosmic Knowledge bunker next Sunday.
Cool. Now you have a website. I gather you've been putting that together.
I just changed things up. I went back to the Christian Whistleblower motif because I think that's really where I've always belonged. And
that's your calling.
It looks a little different, but it is the same. So go ahead and check out jeffreydarty.com. And if you look at my YouTube channel, you see a different header up there, and I think it looks pretty spiffy.
I think it looked good, Jeff. I was on
And
it
Wayne,
last
it
night.
was the most miraculous thing. You know, we were talking about how our folks, if you don't have a YouTube channel and you've never tried to put up a header on there, you don't know how boy, if you want to test your spirituality and see if you ever say the F-bomb, just try to do that, because it's impossible to get the thing positioned the way you want it to do. And Wayne, I did it first time, boom. And I was like, no way.
Well, that to me is a sign that you're in the flow.
It landed dead solid perfect the first time. I sent you a text. I don't know if you got it or not.
Yeah, I did. Well, that's when I went over to your the channel. I went, it looks good. I like it.
Thanks. But that's a miracle, ladies and gentlemen, right there. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Listen, I thank you, Jeff. You know, I told some people Friday night at this thing we were at. I asked them, I said, how many of you laugh in a day?
Oh, good question.
They didn't raise their hand. I said, how many of you laugh in a week?
Oh.
No one. So how
many of you laugh during orgasm?
No, that's good.
No, but I mean, good laugh, not like,
oh yeah,
it's awful. Well, if it was a bad laugh, you wouldn't be having an orgasm, would you? Or you might be faking one if you're with Super Jack.
Jack, you're not going to live it down, buddy. Not in this group. Right. I'm going to tell you, we love you, but you've done assigned yourself.
You have assigned yourself.
Yes.
But you had these crazy Pentecostals a while back. I don't know, maybe, what was it, 10 years, Wayne, that whole holy laughter thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
But as I think about it, laughter is probably a great state for manifesting intention.
It's powerful.
It is powerful.
I'll just share this with you.
We're over time, so we'll wrap it up with this.
I told some people, I said, listen, on your deathbed, and I said, unless it's a blunt force trauma where your spirit's pushed out, I said, why don't you purpose in your heart now to die laughing?
That's a great, great intention.
So there you go.
If you can't die in the middle of an orgasm, then try to die laughing.
Yeah, now there have been a few.
I mean, both those places would be a great place to manifest your intention from.
There have been a few men and women who've died in the midst of coitus at that prime moment. So what a way to go out.
I mean, if you come and go at the same time, I wonder if that helps you.
I think you're like a freaking rocket.
You probably are. You're past Saturn, you're into the next realm, and it's like, woohoo!
That's when those angels are going to go, that boy got it.
I wonder if there's any way that you could actually manifest that. If you could learn to manifest that.
Why couldn't you?
Or you could just have as many orgasms as possible and increase your chances of dying in the middle of one.
Well, yeah, wait when you're at 90. I don't know. But you brought up a good, and I'm going to take that serious. See, it's the intent. You know, I know we're way over time, but I got it on my list of doing a show on. Our ancestors knew how to die.
Yeah.
They picked their moment, their place, and their time. Yeah. I may not have been able to. Go ahead.
And if you can have nocturnal emissions, then you should be able to make yourself have an orgasm. If you can learn to control that energy.
It is said that some of the
Wayne freezes up on that.
No, I'm here. Did I freeze up?
You did for a second.
Oh, okay.
So Wayne, that would be powerful. I mean, teaching laugh while you're dying is a good one, but if you could orgasm while you're dying, bam.
I bet you there have been those who have done it, Jeff.
We got to figure out how to do that.
Let's do that.
Me personally, but
yeah.
We could collaborate on that. You share your data, I'll share mine.
All right, that sounds good. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, woo!
What a day.
R. Wayne Steiger, where do people find you and your info?
R. Wayne Steiger on YouTube.
R. Wayne Steiger on YouTube.
That's it.
Please.
Oh, and the Artist First Network as well.
That's right. Yeah. Hit the like button on your way out. It drives up the organic views of this video, so we can bring other people that it might not be that big of an act of kindness, but it helps more people stumble into something like this, not knowing what it is and wondering where they are. So
you'll certainly get a laugh out of it.
They'll certainly get a laugh out of it, ladies and gentlemen. So please, before you leave, hit the like button. And Wayne, if there was a love button for you, I'd hit it, my friend.
Jeff, you honor me, friend. You are my friend, and thank you.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see you again next week. And I'm sure we'll be talking in the interim.
We will.
Thanks for everything, Wayne. And thanks to all of you in the chat room.
Bye-bye.
We're reminding you to unindoctrinate yourself and go listen to Wayne talk to some planets this week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you one and all, and we'll see you again next week for Not Your Normal Sunday show. In the meantime, go over to the R. Wayne Steiger channel, check out his great podcast excellence, and stay tuned for more here from the Christian Whistleblower, New Cosmic Knowledge. And until then, we wish you all the very best.
Bye, guys.
And look forward to seeing you again real soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone.